Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to make this, I'd say, awesome looking, very versatile piece of wilderness terrain that I've made. It is actually the very first piece of terrain that I have ever made, and I think even without considering that, it turned out pretty well. But of course, that wouldn't have been possible without the benefits of 3D printing. So if you are interested why I consider this the ultimate wilderness terrain, stay tuned, like and subscribe, and I show you exactly how I made this. Now, in preparation for my upcoming campaign, I've always planned to use some kind of terrain. Some kind of ultimate dungeon terrain concept that Professor Dungeon Master from Dungeon Craft came up with, where instead of having many different pieces of terrain that exactly replicate how the dungeon or how the encounter looks, or an unappealing or simple battle map, you have a piece of round terrain that is fairly universal. And you can put it in the middle of the table, you can put it on a lazy Susan, so you can easily turn it around and reach every spot on it easily. And he has refined this system to have ranged zones. So you will have a middle zone where melee encounter happens, usually where the action is happening, where the big bad guy is at, and where characters rush into melee range. Then you have the ranged zone where you can see the melee, from where you can shoot arrows or cast spells but can't be attacked in melee. And then there's the outer zone where you can't attack into the melee zone, but maybe you can hear that it's something going on there. And I've settled on this thematic zone terrain from Mystic Realm, a small company that makes STL files for fantasy terrain. I've got a huge number of these thematic zone plays, as they call it, in their last Kickstarter. And this is the first one that I've printed and built out. But they have 3 others as well: the dungeon, the tavern, and the wilderness road. And the last of that you can get for free. It comes with a number of very universal accessories like trees and rocks. You can use with the other wilderness terrain as well, with any wilderness terrain really. And it's completely free. So go check it out. These pieces of scatter terrain are great just by taking them off and then scattering a few others around. The terrain gets a different feel. This might become the entrance to the wizard's tower, protected by the wizard's guardian, and all of the secrets of the tower and the wizard itself will be behind that door. And first the players have to get past this guardian. Or it quickly becomes the character's campsite that is beset by a pack of hungry wolves. Or it becomes the site of dastardly dark magic. And if the heroes don't manage to interrupt the ritual, something truly horrible will be summoned. Or it becomes a pit trap, where the characters have trapped dangerous monsters and are now closing in for the kill. That is also what I found so great about this terrain, that you had this interchangeable middle part that gives even more flexibility to the ultimate dungeon terrain. I've printed all of the different parts on my FDM 3D printer. If you're not already into 3D printing, I can't recommend to do it just to make terrain, because it's more complicated than I'd like it to be. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong, a lot of stuff to figure out. But if you know someone who's into 3D printing and can do it for you, that's a great opportunity. This one was printed lying down, as you can see. It looks quite different, it's much rougher and you can see the different layers. That's why I generally print this standing up for a much smoother surface. Worked well enough printing this standing up using some tree supports, and I used a bit more than a whole roll, a bit more than 1 kilogram of PLA and about a week to print all of the parts. Also print a number of clamps, and with each part for the locking system you have to remove the supports, which actually got harder by printing it standing up. The supports were way harder than they needed to be. But I eventually managed to remove all of the supports so I could put the locks in there. To a bit of force, which is actually what you want, because I didn't want to ever separate it. I used super glue to glue it all together so it will never come apart again. Once the glue had dried, overnight actually, I used all of my leftover black spray primer, so never mind the brand, cheapest one I had on store, to prime the whole thing black. For one thing, this smoothes out the layer line from the printing process a bit, and also it makes it so color actually sticks to the piece. Once that had dried, I used some brown acrylic craft paint, also the cheap stuff, to paint everywhere where grass is supposed to be brown. Because I'm using grass sprinkle that will be glued on, and in case I miss any spot, or in case during use any spot of the grass falls off, it will be brown like earth, so it won't be as noticeable. For all of the rock stuff, I'm doing a dry brush, using a cheap makeup brush. I'm using a bit of beige craft paint, and I make the brush as dry as it can be, basically after putting paint on it, then just gently brush along it so it creates highlights on all the protruding edges. And once the beige has dried, I follow up with some more white dry brushes, using a rougher brush, and try to be even more gentle so I get white highlights. And after that, I clean up my dry brush overspill with some more brown craft paint. Now this is where the magic happens. I'm using some water solvable crafting glue, similar to Elmer's glue, for example. This will dry transparent. And after thinning it down with a bit of water, I brush it on everywhere where I want grass. I start here with the ritual cycle and brush it on between the stones. So there will be grass growing between the stones but not on the stones. Then for this first application of grass, I paint a circle right in the middle where I want my slightly brighter grass to be. And this is Army Painter Summer Green grass. It's quite bright green. After sprinkling it on, pressing it on a bit, just shake off the excess onto a piece of cardboard so you can easily put it into a container or use it for the next piece. And from this one package I've got plenty of leftover. For the rest of the pieces I use Army Painter Steppe Grass, which is not as easy to sprinkle, it's a bit longer and it's a darker green, almost brown. This way my central area will be highlighted for the zone aspect of Ultimate Dungeon Terrain, so that will be the melee zone. And the process is once again the same. Thin down some glue, paint it on where you want the grass to go, sprinkle it on, and shake off any excess of grass. For a bit more decoration, I'm using again Army Painter Summer Undergrowth, and I just take a few bushels out here, press them into the glue and then glue them on as a bit of extra decoration and potential hiding spots for all you rogues out there. So that's the first piece of terrain that I've crafted. I'm pretty happy with it. But what is the best piece of terrain that you have ever crafted and how are you using it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching and until next time.